people with disabilities.
Right.
But we have some people who are nominated, and you look at them, you wonder, whom do they represent? They are not young people, they are not women. You wonder whether, do they have some disability that you cannot see? Maybe upstairs or somewhere else. You wonder whom do they represent?
Right.
So they have become busybodies in our party. You see, this matter is coming at the time when a section, a small fraction of people who are saying that we are going to campaign for an ODM candidate.
But Mr. Baraza, let me just interject there and ask, because these nominations aren't done at the handshake. The list for the nominations of these individuals who are saying happened at the very beginning. Why didn't we have that debate then as to why we're having these people who are not women, they're not people with disabilities, but they're coming into the party? Why didn't we have this debate, this robust debate that we're seeing then? To, avoid all
but we see, that's why I said we had a problem. We had some people in our party who really wanted to nominate people because they had lost an, a nomination somewhere, and maybe the party feared that they would take their support elsewhere. So with the view of bringing everybody on board, some of these characters found themselves as members of parliament. But I think we also have a group of people in the office of the president who don't want to see the unity between the president and his deputy, and definitely they may be crafting or rather trying to persuade, or their allegiance on who should be president of Kenya in 2022 has changed from the deputy president to somebody else, and they think that by bringing this kind of confusions in our party, will make them succeed in whatever that they are planning. Because you saw them saying that this is a deputy president as a candidate, and what we wanted is that we wanted even the president himself, being the party leader of our party, to be the one handing over the certificate to our Jubilee nominee for Kibera constituency. Because as far as I'm concerned, the handshake is not a political party's merger. We are not in any agreement, any understanding with the ODM. We maintain our identity as Jubilee going forward into the future, while inviting other political parties to dissolve and join us so that we form a one united political party with ideologies.
Let me bring Honorable Maura into this as well. And very many people just wondering, how do we mend this rift? First of all, can we mend it? Because it seems like every single day it morphs into something even uglier than the day before. How do we solve this once and for all so we can now actually move to the development agenda? Honorable Maura.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm very happy because my brother, Dede Nyoro, has been released on free bond. So at least we thank God for that, because I don't think you respond to a mosquito bite with a hammer. I mean, that kind of high-handedness is totally unacceptable. I don't think it is good to have that form of political intolerance. And there are ways in which things may be done in a more professional manner. When the rain started beating us was when we stopped meeting as Jubilee. I mean, I'm on record as having said that we need to have a parliamentary group meeting. And the question that I ask myself is, what is this that people are fearing to meet each other? People who campaign together, people who went around the country, looking for votes. What changed? Where and how? To the point that now, if you look at the political fissures, the divide has moved from NASA Jubilee to within Jubilee itself. Now there's Jubilee Tangatanga, which Didmas belongs to, and there's Jubilee Kieleweke, led by Minor Commander Wabao Ngujiri. And it is really interesting. If you look at, places like Central Kenya, where I come from, places that were cohesive, now that is the battleground. Yesterday, people are running around, having 60 policemen coming to get one harmless man. Really? For what? What is it that we are fighting for? Elections are 3 years away. It's totally, if you came to Kenya, you would think the elections are next week. And it is not right. And I think when the center does not hold, people suffer. How would you deliver your Big Four agenda? The Jubilee Manifesto is a 10-point agenda. It's actually not even 4. We have thrown it under the carpet, and we don't care about it. If you ask people what it stood for, I have a copy on my desk. I keep on looking at it, because I'm a Jubilee-nominated senator. I need to speak the policies of my political party. Now, the shenanigans will be seen properly next year.
Right.
when a faction within Jubilee will call for elections. Because the idea would be, we've had Tuju and others who are interim, and you can see. And eventually, I don't think both sides are going to have it well. I don't think Tangatanga and Kieleweke are going to have it well, because our unity is our strength. Look at Jubilee currently, at least artificially. We have over 200 and, is it how many? Almost a third, 260, together with our affiliate parties, members of the parliament in the National Assembly. We have, 38 senators. We can really bulldoze our agenda in the House. But even to change a cabinet secretary today is something nobody wants to touch, because you don't know who is loyal to who.
Okay. Joy,
You know?
I'll bring you in this
So,
one.
just 1 minute.
Sorry.
So by the end of the day, we really have to call our House to order. The president and the deputy president, they are both the party leader and deputy party leader, if we are to move ahead. But I think the die has been cast. Now we have Kieleweke and the sister organization Embrace. We have Tangatanga and the sister organization Inua Mama.
And here we are, the stage has been set, as Honorable Maura puts it, yet we who are not in, the political running and who don't see the political machinations behind all of these closed doors are wondering, okay, fine, we see the ugly scenes now playing out even in churches. Something that started off as Kieleweke and Tangatanga has come to the pulpit. Joy, as you sit from there, how do we get devoid of all of this and at least deliver? Because as we say, we have a big four agenda to look at. We have a Jubilee manifesto that was promised. We have stadia that have now been promised from 8 to 11. You know that all of these things we want to see done, yet all we are seeing is this, circus playing out. How do we move forward?
As I was listening to the honorable member and to the senator here talking, and I almost burst out laughing.
Why is that?
I mean, Jubilee is cannibalizing itself. If I was in the opposition right now, you just sit down and watch. This is comedy gold.
Waiting for
but,
self-destruction.
But for opposition, it's Doofenshmirtz. It's textbook. Hit the self-destruct button. That's what they've done. Look at what is happening with Ndindi Nyoro. You remember when we were talking about roll back to the days of Miguna. Miguna was neither here nor there. Even as a political player, he was a blip in the system. Then come all these famous arrests and deportations and what. Now he's a hero, he's a general of an non-existent army. We make people be so larger than life because of how we react to them. Jubilee right now have, in fact, and I keep drawing the parallels with what we have in the UK. When David Cameron was leaving office, he left Theresa May with a majority in Parliament, with a roadmap. We've done a referendum, we know where we are headed, and said, you know what, I don't have what it takes to take this forward, but here, I've given you enough machinery to get us there. Then she comes in, she starts with snap elections and I don't know what, and messes it completely up. By the time Boris comes in, it's a whole cacophonics. Even the speaker now is leaving, and they have completely squandered an opportunity that now Britain is in the doldrums. It's the same thing Jubilee is doing. When they came out of the last election, they had a majority in Parliament, a majority in Senate, a majority of the county assemblies. They actually could drive any agenda that they wanted. Then come this thing called handshake. This handshake is behaving like a delicate pregnancy. Oh, will it survive? You cough, will it survive? You bleed a bit, will it survive? Everything is, will it survive? Why should it survive?
Everything is being looked through the lens of a handshake.
And with me, I ask, why should it survive? Why is it surviving? It's talking about inclusivity, it's talking about peace, it's talking about national cohesion. These are things that are even in our constitution. You don't need handshake to have that. And as it is, we already have it. We are not fighting, we are getting somewhere.
Right.
But what is happening within Jubilee is threatening that which the handshake says that it's coming to do. I agree with the good senator. The president just has to blow the whistle and say, you know what, half time, everybody off the pitch, let's re-strategize, let's start afresh. And I'm on record saying, by the way, on this show and on other shows, the president is the one person who can reach out to William Ruto and can reach out to Raila Odinga and be the bridge between them. If he's building bridges, he can build the bridge between these, because right now they're the two protagonists. And as long as he chooses to not do that and to seem to try and walk in the middle, then his own legacy is at stake. Because there's a girl who asked him, what do you want your legacy to be? And he said, I want to leave a united Kenya or cohesive Kenya. Do we have a united Kenya? We don't even have a united Murang'a. He needs to rethink his strategy. What he's doing right now is working in some places, but he's backfiring where it ought to have not backfired. That's his backyard. It ought to be solidly behind him.
And that's the lead story, of course, in your copy of the Daily Nation. You can get all of that right there as you wait and see really if the parliamentary group meeting will ever happen and if all of these aggrieved parties will have a forum to air what they feel is going wrong and, right the track and put the Jubilee train back on course is something we'll wait to see. And, of course, we will definitely be talking about that if and when it happens. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation, murder most foul. Did this boy have to die? A demand for a, quote, routine 50 shillings bribe by police officers on patrol at a Changaden in a slum in Kahawa West, Nairobi, turned tragic after a 2-year-old boy was shot at close range in unclear circumstances. You look at this story, you look at the picture of baby Duncan Githenji right there, and your heart bleeds, because this is definitely, it shouldn't have happened. Even if we tried to overlook the fact that there was a 50-shilling bribe being asked or demanded for, why would the police have to use such excessive force from whatever situation that was going on in there? Let me just start with Joy very quickly as we move on this one. Whatever was happening, as they investigate and find out, was it a bribe? What was going on? Was the police physically assaulted? Isn't there proper training in order to deal with such circumstances and environments? Because shooting at close range live ammunition should never be the first course of action for police officers. Remember, in the immediate post-election season, there was a spate of children being shot during the unrests. Mm-hmm. There was an argument at that time that maybe there were criminal elements taking advantage to escalate the situation. But you cannot discount the fact that a mother who loses a child in such a manner, there's no pontificating, there's no explaining, there's no or the training or the government, there's nothing. How you've taken my 2-year-old away from me? It's just uncalled for. But this now takes us to the core of what we were talking about earlier. We've gotten to a place where Kenyans feel so shameless, just as they've seen their leaders do crazy things. Kenyans themselves now are not afraid to use their position badly to get what they want. You're going to collect a bribe and you're carrying a gun that has got live ammunition and you're not carrying it responsibly and it goes off. That tells you this is a guy who's willing to do anything to get that bribe. It's just like leaders who are willing to do anything to change policy, to change documents, to consult for people and to also offer the approvals. There's a shamelessness that's crept into our society that we need to hit the reset button. There has to be not just accountability for the sake of the justice for this child, but as people, the common decency. For example, in other jurisdictions, there are regulations about police officers getting into communities, what they can and cannot carry. If you are a certain number of officers, maybe you just carry a taser and a karungu. You don't carry guns with live ammunition. In Kenya, you see a lone policeman walking with a huge gun on it. I mean, we just have to hit the reset button. But over and above that, poverty is a bad thing. Honorable Maura, I'll bring you in on this as well, because you've been at the forefront, of human rights advocacy. And for Mama Duncan, how will she ever, have her faith restored in, government, in the police system, that it works for them after such an incident?
If you see a little boy, and this could be your son, my son, and it's really painful because this was an innocent child, being killed by a bullet of a policeman who is going to collect, their usual rent-seeking behavior, you see a failed state, sorry to say this. And that is the same thing. If you see 60 people, armed, going to get a harmless man called Dede Nyoro, then you see the poor deployment of there are so many places that these people should have been working on. But because there's a pecking order where the highest police, they ask the lower ones how much money they are supposed to collect, and they have a target. Can you imagine? It's totally unacceptable. I was in Ruiru there, and the boda people are telling me that they are caught by the police from Kimbo police station, and they have to give 3,000 shillings. And when they are in, they are told, call somebody to come and, and get you out. And it's a charge. No offense, no nothing. If you are caught, you give 3,000. The same thing here. And when I was in the National Assembly, I remember a lady coming to me who had been sacked from Kikuyu constituency. She had been sacked as a police officer because she had refused to remit the bribes. She was a lady. And she was seeking justice to be reinstated. And she was actually dismissed on the basis that she's lazy. So laziness is not fulfilling that target at the railway, bus terminus. So this is how even the police themselves are suffering, you know, and you even saw them going to court demanding that now they have a degree, they should be, you know, inspector of police, at least at the graduate level, because they are being suppressed by their superiors. And the whole idea is a cartel. I mean, I was at Thika NTSA office. Before a vehicle, by the time the vehicle is being referred there, they have to part with 2,000 shillings.
You had mentioned that.
You know, and they are very arrogant people there, you see, Mate. So by the end of the day, we are in a place where it is a food chain, where the small man is being eaten by the bigger man, and the bigger man is eaten by the other one. And it is now coming to the effect that because of this, you know, rule of the jungle, even children are suffering. And nobody seems to care, because how will this woman, how will the father of the child, how will the family ever get justice?
Okay,
You know,
we have some feedback on
if-
this as well, Marwara. Let me just cut you short because we have some feedback coming in. We need to look at that right now. Of course, your tweets are coming in on K24 TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. Movie is getting all of your feedback as we jump back into this particular story. Movie, where do we begin as far as that's concerned?
All right, let's head on straight to Twitter and see what Kenyans are saying. Sami Kyoko, you're saying, money heist. I don't believe the fake police theory. How did he get access to the uniform and how things are done? All right. We have James who says, why are we surprised about this fake cop in the Nairobi money heist if Waiganjo dined with senior police officers? Yes, we need to revisit that as well. Looking at what, yes, Mudhui R is saying that the problem with Kenyans is we do not ask people to identify themselves. That's why we have fake police, fake doctors, fake teachers, and we end up suffering. I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to ask a police officer for his ID, utashanga. Joe Sagana is saying the period between 25 and 30 has to be the most worrisome part of adult life. You worry about so much, your dreams, finances, your future, your parents and everything. Going to university in Kenya is clearly a problem for him. We also have Sheila who says, I think varsities must offer a compulsory course on postgraduate depression to prepare students in their final year for the journey ahead. And I totally agree with that. In terms of what we need to be taught once we're leaving university, some of us are not necessarily prepared for what is outside there. Then we have depression universities again, that is Basic Needs Kenya, saying spending time with people face-to-face is a big protective factor against depression. We sometimes assume that communicating electronically is as good, but it's not. All right. I think we shall take a break there, take it back to Jeff to continue his discussion, and especially on the police particular story. Quite a touchy subject there, because I know Mheshimiwa Maura and his wife actually have been a victim of this particular issue. So maybe, Mheshimiwa, you're talking from experience.
And of course, even if the depression in varsities issue, that's in the standard. We'll be looking at that also as we go through that particular story. But you also get Honorable Baraza's view on what happened. The last time we spoke about this, you're saying that it just needs to get all the senior police officers and have them answerable to what's going on.
But before maybe Honorable Ditmas comes in, because you know, Buvi has triggered me into commenting. You know, when my wife was arrested for whatever traffic offense, people expected me to go and bribe, and I refused.
Right.
Even the police officers were waiting for me to bribe, but I went, I paid the fine, and she was out. I said, if this is how the government makes money, let me just be a Kenyan and responsible and pay the 21,000, because that's the same money that comes back to pay me as a senator. Because you must have the rule of law. And the rule of law must apply even to the rich and the poor, the powerful and the powerless.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Honorable Baraza as well, your take on this issue, because it's on every single account, it's wrong how this transpired.
It's very unfortunate that such a young boy had to lose life just like that. And I think I would want to, the blame is on the Inspector General of Police. I don't think if the IG is in charge of all the criminal elements, all the criminal cases that happens in this country. No, you can really tell when he is in charge. Like this case for arresting of Ndindi Nyoro, he was really in charge. You look at the speed, the way the police were mobilized, the way they camped at Royal Media Services, the way they traveled, tracked him down. So he needs to be in charge of each and every matter that touches on Kenyans. This matter is, this is something that we've seen the DCI and the DPP in the recent past tweeting press releasing on the matters of investigations on Kamorere and Aroa. But this is, we're talking of a young person losing life. We need to see them also tweeting and informing Kenyans about the immediate steps that they have taken to bring justice to the family of this young person. It is not acceptable at all. And we need to see the police swing into action. This is a matter that investigations can be concluded within the shortest time possible and bring justice to the family of this young boy.
And of course, that's a story that you can get in your copy of the Daily Nation. Makes the front page right there. And a very sad story indeed. We'll now move on to the Standard. Gentlemen and lady, we have 5 minutes to do 2 stories, so we'll have to keep our comments short on this. Standard front page, secret plots to force teachers into polls after the contested ouster of Wilson Sossion. Now 2 top NAT officials are now fighting for their jobs as TSC declares they have retired. Is there someone somewhere who wants a very unstable NAT? Joy, is someone profiting from the instability in the union?
Remember last time when I was saying in going after Sossion, by the time the powers that be are done with KNUT, it will have imploded. And this is part of the implosion. When they were rejoicing over Sossion's troubles and thinking that was creating room for them, little did they know that the Swahili saying, ukimwona mwenzako yonyolewa pia chako kitie maji. One of the bylaws that they have is that for you to be a KNUT official, you have to be not a TSC registered teacher. And that's what they started with Sossion. They started by deregistering him as a TSC number holder. And they should have known that if that card was played with Sossion, it might be played on them as well. But whether it's a secret plot to force polls is something that maybe we'll see in the developing few days. But if somebody indeed wanted to cripple the operations of KNUT, take out 3 of the officials, yes, then you have to call snap elections to fill in the vacancies. And so you can see the logic of where that is headed. Whether or not it's actually a conspiracy is something right now I do not want to comment on, but you can see the way it's developing. But their sister organization, Kupet, is also now starting to also feel the heat, because I've seen in a section of the papers, they are also complaining about some of the things that they're being required to do. And they're realizing you can't just be rejoicing over KNUT's problems. If you allow TSC to run roughshod over the labor organizations, they will run roughshod over all of you. It won't just be one that will bear the brunt of it all. And Kupet now, if they're clever, they need to buttress the KNUT, because a strong KNUT ensures a strong Kupet.
Okay, and of course, Honorable Maura, I bring you in on this as well. Same question being posed to you. It seems like the unions are fighting a battle. Their back is against the wall on this one. Who benefits from this?
I think the employer benefits.
So that's a direct linkage as to why we're having all of this going on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the hand of the lady, Gitao,
yes,
in this whole thing, because of the fact that maybe a strong KNUT means that they will be having a lot of problems, and you can see why. Because if you see a teacher saying they want 80% increase, and the government, on the other hand, is trying to reduce, the pay, and SRC is involved, why would you want a strong union? So certainly they have everything to fight Sossion. I think the goose was cooked when Sossion was nominated to Parliament to represent workers. In this case, he's the best representative of workers. I support him on that one. But then, of course, there's always the question as to party loyalty, whether when you are represented and you have a, a union that has both members of Jubilee, NASA, Ford Kenya, whatever you name it, then does that make you still to be neutral? So it is a very gray area in law, but there seems also to be issues of personality. Certainly, give it to him. Sossion has been a very good representative of teachers. But then that is not necessarily what an employer would even you today. If K24 you had a union, I don't think the employer would want you to unionize.
It would be a thorn in the flesh of
Yes,
any employer.
exactly.
Honorable Baraz, I'll bring you in on this as well, because it seems like the only way the union survive, as Joy has put it, is to close ranks. There'd been a lot of infighting, as we saw with Sossion being taken out of office, court injunctions, and all of this. Should they come together in terms of officials within both organizations in order to survive this onslaught from government?
I think it's very bad. I think it's immoral for the Teacher Service Commission to begin interfering with the management of the union. That undermines the same principle that this union were found. And KNUT lost it because they ought to have fought the registration of Sossion like their life depends on it. And I don't think if the TSA has the powers to deregister any teacher, but they did it in bad faith, because there are so many teachers who are involved in financial improprieties with the institutions that they are in charge of. We have some who are involved in serious misdemeanors like carnal knowledge. They are still have their registration status not interfered with. I think it is completely very wrong, and as leaders we need not to allow this, because it will now germinate into something else, and even other unions will still to have the same. But we need a stronger union for a country is good for a country.
Right.
In term, because we need to have Kenyan workers motivated. Part of their motivation is to have their representation, so that anything rolls within the law.
Okay.
I think if you look at what is happening now in this country, we are really eroding away the gains of the new constitution. We are halfway towards where we came from as a country, where a state does things with impunity, not following the law, and we must resist that kind of shenanigans. Okay. And I want to tell them that one word, that nobody will continue being in power. You know, the words of Senator James Orengo will be applied for very many years to come. No one will always be in power. Those who are powerful in Kanu's regime, some of them are really even having a bit, having very bad life from wherever they are. Okay. Some are even crying for state assistance. So no one, the only person who will forever be powerful is God and Jesus.
And you take a break at that particular religious note and a point. We'll be back after the break, and of course we're talking about what's on the front page of the Star. MPs accusing state of crucifying them for backing Ruto. Moranga police ordered Ndindi Nyoro to surrender at the nearest station. We'll be talking about that. He's now been freed on, released on free bond. We'll be talking about what that means as well. And also, Parliament Senate resumes. What does that mean for the House in terms of business of the day? And of course, we'll have the parting shots from my panel right here. As always, your inputs on this particular show are invaluable. Please keep on tweeting us at K24 TV or SMS us on 21222. We'll look at your feedback also after the break.